Snowbreak, a post-apocalyptic game where mankind has forsaken Okay, this really isn't conveying the whole death, destruction, struggling to survive theme that I was trying to tell. Also, is Katya wearing another swimsuit, or is that just really small formal wear? Never mind, I believe this answers my question. Some of the fiercest warriors mankind has to offer are squirting what I genuinely hope is water at one another. All the while, Katya is floating in a giant margarita glass, breathing very, very deeply. Like, I feel we all are watching this scene in a dark, quiet room far, far away from anyone that might judge us. Well, joke's on you, I'm judging you. Hey, my name is Stix and welcome back to the worst gacha ever, a video series where I discuss a gacha and tell you guys what I thought in explicit detail as we attempt to find the worst gacha ever. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing to the channel, hitting that little bell notification, that way you remain up to date with every single thing that I post, and I post several times per month. Do not miss out. Now let's go ahead and dive right into Snowbreak. Snowbreak isn't your traditional gacha game. Where most gacha games feature turn-based action or strategy combat, Snowbreak utilizes a third-person shooter style of gameplay that I haven't seen replicated in the genre. It is essentially what Nikke could be if Nikke allowed for you to play as your characters rather than with them. Although I'm not against playing with them. Have you seen Crown or Red Hood? Lord have mercy. This is a game that was on the brink of shutting down. It was averaging as little revenue per month as Tower of Fantasy does, and the devs were at a point where they had two choices. They could either come to terms with the fact that Snowbreak was a complete and utter failure and people just weren't interested in it, or they could make a drastic change. They opted for the latter option, turning Snowbreak from a post-apocalyptic shooter with a dark, complex story into what is arguably the much better waifu bait game that it is now, going full speed into degeneracy. If you watched any of their trailers, you'd be well aware of this by now. But if you need a visual example, here are a few of the characters present in the original game, compared to a few of the characters present in the game now. It's no wonder revenue doubled, tripled, sextupled, going from a mere few $100,000 per month to several million. This is a game that understands its target demographic and plays very deeply into it, with absolutely no shame or regrets. And they don't need it. Snowbreak starts you off fast. Your memory is a little blurry and you're thrust immediately into battle alongside highly skilled killing machine Life. Life has a one-track mind. Murder. She thinks of nothing else, an absolute monster. Until the direction of the game changed, then she became this shy, effeminate girl that longs for even your slightest touch, as she is unable to control that pulsating urge she has to please you. I am not making this up. I wish I were. You're introduced to the theme of the game and spend numerous chapters slowly ridding the world of the plague that has driven mankind to the brink of extinction. Honestly, the base story was pretty bad. I skipped parts of it because it was just so convoluted, drawn out, seemingly pointless. You could condense 90% of its story and it would genuinely be more coherent than the form we have now. Which is why I'm guessing the devs have confirmed their interest in rewriting the majority of the early to mid chapters to better align with the current trajectory of the game, which is suggestive, explicit, detestable, turning what were once strong, independent women into degenerate dolls for the Commandant to do with whatever he pleases. I'd planned to cover the basic premise of the game to document the story, but I feel like it's kind of irrelevant. You know what? Screw it, I'm gonna try anyway. The world fell to ruin. To combat the foe that brought humanity to its knees, an elite unit was formed with the sole purpose of saving mankind. Equipped with the finest arms money can buy, we embarked on this perilous journey to forge a new, brighter future. Along the way, we lost sight of our goal, becoming enamored with pleasures we never knew existed. Our base turned from a military outpost into what can only be described as my own personal bachelor pad, where you, the Commandant, hoard women and do weird shit to them, like massaging them. I mean, it's always good to get a massage after a hard day's work, sure, but I'd wager a guess the fate of mankind hanging in the balance would take precedence. Going to the beach while humanity is falling deeper and deeper into ruin does sound a little selfish, but hey, sometimes a little rest and relaxation is necessary. All murder and no sexy beach time makes life an unhappy waifu. And you know what they say, happy waifu, happy lifeu. The game initially featured a full English dub. However, due to the severe underperformance, the devs had to cut English voice actors in an effort to conserve every bit of money they could. They attempted to reach out to English voice actors again after the shift in tone and setting, but the English voice actors, at least some of them, felt uncomfortable voicing these new lines given the graphic and explicit nature of what was going on. Outside of the new egregiously fan-servicey events that release nowadays, the bulk of the game still takes place in chapters and missions. At present, I have cleared up to the final chapter, chapter 13. Each chapter has a set number of missions that you can undertake with a wide array of different objectives: assault missions, capture missions, rescue missions, stealth missions. The variety provided a lot of entertainment value for me. Typically, in gacha games, you find yourself mindlessly and repetitiously running the same content in the same way. Snowbreak alleviates that a little bit by introducing many different mission types, helping to lessen the boredom you'll no doubt inevitably be overcome with. Another very noteworthy difference that you'll immediately realize is the full manual control you have over your characters. There is no auto combat present, rather you're required to manually control, run, dodge, melee, and aim your characters and their respective abilities. There is no blaming the AI for poor performance. Although 1 in 3 men our age do tend to have performance issues, so I'm not going to hold it against you if you're the weak link. There are several weapon types: submachine guns, sniper rifles, shotguns, pistols, assault rifles, crossbows, and dual submachine guns. Every weapon has their own strengths and weaknesses along with their own utility. Add on to this every hero's own individual abilities. There are a significant number of team compositions that you can theoretically deploy. And if that weren't enough, all heroes and their respective weapons also possess an elemental affinity, creating an even more diverse, complex system that you're required to micromanage. You'll no doubt understandably feel the gameplay is likely a little clunky and lacking in the beginning, because it is. There's no denying that your base units, Life, Fenny, Yao, are all significantly more underwhelming than more recent characters. Thankfully, Snowbreak is pretty free-to-play friendly and rewards you with a lot of premium currency, providing substantial opportunities to attain new units. The combat isn't overly complex. You deploy 3 units of different weapon and elemental types, best suiting the enemy and your respective objective. You move through a relatively linear zone following story, eliminating a plethora of different monsters, culminating in a slightly more difficult boss battle. Up until level 60, I think the game moves at a very rapid pace. This is due to the catch-up mechanic the Snowbreak devs implemented to aid players in reaching recent, more endgame content. I gotta thank them for this. I started a new account 2 months ago with the sole intention of doing this dedicated video, and I was able to reach heights unattainable for me in the past. Kudos to the dev team. There are a multitude of game modes enhancing your gameplay depending on your own personal likes and dislikes. Take the Giga Link. There are 2 game modes, Area Control and Endless Battle. Area Control is a permanent mode where you can team up with 2 other players for a type of competitive cooperative play. Or if you're like me and are recording this at 4 AM in the morning when nobody is online, you can just do it alone. I'm sure you can all relate to this. What are friends, right? We have our trusty right hand, sometimes our left if we want to spice things up amongst the tissues, and a game full of absolute treasures that we need to appreciate thoroughly. Area Control functions like main chapters and missions, whereas Endless Battle has you take on waves of enemies with varying objectives. You can attempt matchmaking if you feel up to it, but it's also doable solo. You have a little more freedom here than other game modes, which may be more or less enjoyable depending on your disposition towards open or linear areas. There's the Paradoxical Labyrinth, and don't worry, it's much less complex than the name makes it sound. You'll move through a number of different rooms, engaging waves of enemies until you clash with the final boss of each respective difficulty. As you clear rooms, you'll gain various different boosts, passively applying various different beneficial effects like increases in damage, fire rate, healing after ability usage. It's a fun game mode that is only enhanced the better the characters you select to accompany you, as you can drastically improve the characteristics and performance of each respective hero, allowing for some absolutely absurd situations. Operations are the primary mode for resource gathering. Combat training is for people who don't know how to play video games, but reward you 50 premium currency for every first time clear. Pot of Plenty is where you grind the in-game currency. The black market is where you grind XP materials to level up your heroes. Peacemaker allows for you to grind XP materials for weapon leveling. Reforging Flames is for weapon ascension materials. Realm of Eternal Winter is where you farm Neuronics materials. These allow for you to further upgrade characters. Raining Fire, essentially Snowbreak's version of Genshin's artifact system. Mine Refinement, both of these game modes actually allow you to grind out logistics officers. Thankfully, unlike Genshin, Wuthering Waves, and a plethora of other gacha games, Snowbreak only requires you match 3 per set, making it exponentially easier to maximize individual hero potential. And finally, the Arms Hub, where you farm the weapon exchange item, providing opportunities to obtain purple tier weapons. There really are an alarming number of different resource farming modes present, each and every single mode requiring stamina to grind and functioning more or less the same. Kill X number of monsters, obtain X number of materials as a reward. Not that a lack of depth is really a hindrance, on the contrary, I'd rather it be simple and to the point. Thankfully, Snowbreak allows you to immediately sweep cleared stages, making farming resources as easy as changing menus. If all of this wasn't overwhelming enough for you, Dispatch opens up a whole nother selection of game modes. Underground Purge, which has over a dozen different floors. You'll find yourself navigating a series of rooms with individual objectives. Eliminate X number of enemies, defeat X boss, who have separate conditions located over on the left of your screen that ultimately affect your final rating. Do try not to fail those. This can be a difficult and arduous task at times. Like, get hit less than 20 times? Excuse me? There are 100 Gatling guns unloading on Katia from all directions. This probably reminds her of her college years. Neural Simulation, where you can engage a boss in battle for, holy crap, look at the size of her. Sorry, I do apologize. That was very unprofessional of me. I was just in shock. Pew, pew, pew. Pew, 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 pew. Pew, 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 pew. Pew, 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 pew. And that right there is Neural Simulation. It does get progressively more difficult as you increase in difficulties. Tactic Evaluation, which is yet another mode featuring countless missions to overcome, each with their own separate objectives, like survive a number of waves. Just be careful, as this game evidently is not stupid proof. You can and likely will fall to your untimely demise. Oh wait, never mind. Yeah, they just teleport you right back up. Hooray! And Star Master, which was a more recent addition. This is kind of like Pokemon. You navigate a large open area, hunting different Pokemon and capturing them after weakening them, crafting the ultimate team. This is honestly one of the cooler game modes present and goes to show me that Snowbreak really could have benefited from being a more open world game rather than largely instanced. The area is fun to explore, the mechanics are fun to engage in. This game mode definitely needs elaboration and maybe even a spin-off. Maybe put a PAL World spin on it. Call it Snowbreak World. Snowbreakmon. Pokebreak. Snowmon Break World. Okay. I'll stop now. We're almost done with the game modes, guys, don't worry. Personal files are individual standalone stories featuring recruitable characters. They consist of several different encounters and give you insight into the history and the current actions of your team. It's a very self-explanatory mode. The main goal when it came to the theme with Snowbreak was a serious post-apocalyptic shooter, something the genre really just didn't have. Unfortunately, absolutely nobody cared about how the devs presented it, and thus the drastic pivot to something much more lighthearted was necessary, which is why events like the new Azure Paradise were conceived. And can we just take a moment here to appreciate how absolutely breathtaking the new Katia Dawnwing is? The way her enormous eyes just stare at you longingly. Her eyes. All right. Jeff, yeah, they're full of life, full of, Jeff, where are you going? Oh, we're showing her other outfit, okay. I don't think it's safe to balance a gun between your legs like that while you, yeah, sure, you do that. Okay, go ahead and do that again. But with a Baywatch slow-mo next time. I wholeheartedly believe events like this are part of the reason the game is received so much better. Sure, you could attribute the current success of the game to things like more lewd designs, you wouldn't be wrong, but hot characters aren't enough. Tower Fantasy has been introducing new features just like Snowbreak and hasn't seen remotely close to its success. Rather, Snowbreak has become increasingly more fun, lighthearted, and just genuinely fun. Take a look at just one of the new minigames that were introduced with the new Azure Paradise event. Dodge the swinging hammers and race to the finish. Oh my god. No! No! Okay, I get it. Oh! There's no way! Oh, dude. What? Oh my. I really bad. I swear. This is a ping issue. Oh, are you serious? And then you have to start again. Oh, you can actually double jump. This is actually so much fun. Oh, would you look at that? Third place, first try. Oh my god, that was... Okay, wow. Another area Snowbreak really excels, its base. Not only are you in full direct control of your character, but you can see every character you recruit, you can interact with them, you can stare at them while they're sleeping. To make sure they're breathing, of course, you can give them gifts. There's a massage parlor where you can use the hands that God gave you to bring otherworldly pleasure to your waifu, and they reciprocate. I like fully interactable 3D bases. I dislike when they're used merely as an additional method to obtain resources. I'd much rather them offer us a mode like this, where we can learn more about our characters, where we can see and interact with the purchases we made through Gacha. It opens up new avenues for player-to-character attachment. Not that that's always a good thing, as Gacha tribalism has proven. Speaking of Gacha, Snowbreak is pretty generous. There are two types of banners available, 100% and 50%. You have a 100% guarantee to obtain the current limited banner character, Katya Dawnwing or Finny Starshine right now, at 100 pulls. Alternatively, if you opt for the standard banner, you're guaranteed a max rarity unit at 80 pulls. If you fail to obtain the unit in question, you're guaranteed the unit when you next hit pity. Weapons have a 100% guarantee upon reaching the required 80 and 60 pulls respectively. Oh, I can't believe I've done this entire thing without discussing the characters themselves. While the gacha is relatively generous and earning premium currency for pulls is not arduous at all, I did tend to spend a little excessively on farming resource stages. That way I could sufficiently upgrade my characters. Every character has individual levels. Leveling them increases their power. You have weapons of various rarities, each with their own unique look and associated benefits. As an example, Katya's best weapon provides a 40% attack boost and increases her frost damage by 18% while standing still, along with a surplus of other additives. Weapons also have levels. They allow for direct modification and alteration via parts, improving its overall potential. Logistics are a type of gear that have 2-piece and 3-piece set bonuses. They come in multiple rarities, with farming being an option via one of the game modes mentioned earlier, and attempt to min-max with talents, passives that unlock as you continue to level them. Manifestation is where you consume duplicate copies of characters. Increasing manifestation levels alter your character in a number of ways. Passive boosts to stats, alteration of current abilities, new abilities entirely. Neuronics are a means with which to obtain yet another avenue of character upgrade, requiring a specific resource mainly foreign from the realm of Eternal Winter. Bonuses from Neurotics are significant and should not be overlooked, ever. They're far too beneficial and can make or break your character. Most importantly, outfits. That's where players spend most of their money. Outfits and new variants of current characters anyway. I'm sure the reasoning behind such a decision warrants absolutely no discussion or elaboration. Snowbreak has repeatedly exceeded my expectations since release and defied all logic in terms of success. Now let's go ahead and break down my rating. Combat, 8 out of 10. Abilities look and feel great, and I think the third-person shooting is surprisingly very fluid when you finally get characters beyond the base cast. Story, 4 out of 10. I genuinely think the story was the weakest part of Snowbreak originally, and it does remain as such. As a new player, it is an absolute bore to progress through, especially trying to understand how the story can be as dark as it is with all the lighthearted events going on. World, 5 out of 10. Different regions were fun to explore, and the most recent chapters and game modes further elaborate on that. Graphics, 8 out of 10. I think the characters and especially outfits and animations are top tier. Beautiful, defined, well thought out. I don't think there are too many gacha games out there that could really top this. I would have rated this a 9 out of 10 if not for the old zones looking so plain and boring, especially when compared to new areas. Sound, 5 out of 10. The music is fine, it's nothing great. The English dub wasn't very good, but the Japanese dub does sound pretty great. Overall, I'd give this 30 margaritas out of 50 Katia ice cubes, or 6 out of 10. Honestly, a very fun, very enjoyable game. Definitely fun enough to play as a main title. Snowbreak is an absolute joy to play, and I cannot recommend it enough in its current form. Hey you, where do you think you're going? Don't you close out of this tab. I didn't give you permission to do that. Sit your ass back down. Click one of the 2 videos that are gonna be on screen in just a moment and keep watching my content. Keep enjoying my content.